Waxahachie, Texas. You're here with us on the 27th of February for our 44th. What are we going to do for the big 5-0?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
Maybe we'll
thinking.
pop a balloon or something.
You don't think
Oh,
you
I
don't
can do
think
that.
cake? A little louder.
Yeah, a little louder. Jeff likes the mallet loud. Oh,
Damn
that's
right.
too
You're
loud.
gonna bang a mallet, bang a mallet. That's what I say.
All right.
All right. So anyway, we're broadcasting live from our palatial downtown second story studio in the shadows of the Ellis County Courthouse. And I am your co-host, Jeff Lynch. And ably running the board is our man, Sam Brooks. And to my right is our host, my friend, compadre, partner, your buddy, Scott
Thank you,
Brooks.
brother. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Great and Good News. It's Thursday, beautiful Thursday. A little nippier out there than the other day. Yeah, but still beautiful.
But it's coming. I mean,
Yeah.
I changed clothes twice.
Yeah.
To
You're looking
to
sharp. I
get
like
just
that.
right.
That's that sharp, one of those sharp shirts you bought.
Oh yeah.
But I love this weather. I know you do too. Thank you for being here. We are excited to be here as always. We've got, as always, plenty to talk about today. So we'll start with our update. Let me remind everybody, we don't talk about this often, but you can catch us on across all the platforms now, and on TikTok especially. We now have clips of our show that are being played, and we're getting lots of response there. Sometimes it's not all that pleasant, but sometimes it is. So we whatever it is, we appreciate it because we know that means people are invested.
Yeah, and when you tick on, you'll see these miniature squares, and you're looking at like 20 episodes or
Yeah,
something all of a
yeah. So
sudden at
you can,
once.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you can pick whatever you'd like.
But you're not
Um,
getting whole shows there.
no, so you're
If you
just
want the
getting
whole shows,
excerpts.
go to
Yeah, go to Facebook. Well, you can go to Facebook. You can go to YouTube.
Yeah.
You the best place to go is YouTube to
Yeah.
get the whole show. So anyway, a couple things on the updates before we get into the meat of the subject. Texas teachers was announced yesterday, and I don't know if it was approved yesterday or
It
today.
was in this morning's paper. It was
Yeah,
approved
so
yesterday. Yeah.
Texas teachers, school teachers across the board are being given a raise. We are, I have some thoughts about that, but and there's more specifics to it. You want to
Well,
add to it?
the basic is if you're a district of less than 5,000 enrollment in the district,
Yes.
teachers with 5 years plus are going to get 10,000 a year.
Right.
With 3 years are going to get 5,000, and less can get 2,500.
Right.
And if you're in, um, and Rita was quick, longtime teacher was quick to point out, there's not that many districts with less than 5,000
Yeah, that's a
people.
small district. I know
So
you're talking about with less than, is that students or people?
students.
Yeah. So like here, I haven't seen the most recent numbers, but we're building another high school and plenty of elementary schools. So we're pushing, you know, 15 at some point. I can't remember the
Right.
numbers, but we're well over 9,000 now.
And we're not a huge district.
No, we're not.
So that's the deal. Uh, so the bigger districts, you get 5,000 instead of
Right.
10.
Right. And the average in what I read, uh, which we'll have more about this again on Wednesday in the Sun, the average salary for a teacher in the state of Texas, 62.5. So it's again that's the average. So some are making more, some are making less. There are teachers making 100 grand or more. So as a percentage, it will vary, but
And you
it's
know, that's a pathetic increase. My wife often talks about she was 30 years, she was department head and um, one other type of head,
yeah.
leadership head. And after 30 years, and she retired 10 years ago, she was making 55.
Yeah, it is. It's, I mean, if you, when you think of I think we all should consider the percentage of raise that people are getting. An amount is often,
That is a big percentage raise, though. Yeah.
it is, particularly if you're, if you're making 62 grand, you're getting a $10,000 a year raise. That's a
Amen.
pretty big chunk. Now,
That
if
is.
you're making 70,000 and you get a $2,500, it's not, but it's still a raise. And
Yeah.
here's the cynical side of me about this is that we know Abbott and the Republicans in Austin are all about school choice
Right.
and vouchers and that sort of thing. So my feeling is, I could be totally wrong. I don't trust anybody in Austin, frankly. And I have my love-hate relationship with Abbott in terms of his performances over the years. Uh, and one of these days we can talk about COVID and how he mishandled COVID, in my opinion. But I think this is a bit of a play almost a card play on connected to the vouchers. Now, this bill is intended, and I think it's been passed, so it was intended to, hey, Terry, welcome. It was intended to stand alone
Mhm.
because the raise issue went down uh last session, I believe it was, or maybe it was even before that, because it was connected. You know how they connect these bills to
Mhm.
things? It
Mhm.
was connected to vouchers, and so it went down. In this case, it's a standalone issue, but I still believe that in the dark rooms and late at night or whatever, they're talking about, well, let's do this so that we can maybe press people to approve this voucher system,
Right.
which we need to dedicate a whole segment, maybe even two segments, to what does that mean, at least in our opinion. School voucher, school choice, what does that really mean, and are we in favor of it? What does it do to public schools? What does it do to the student? What does it do to the family? uh, why do politicians want it so badly, at least some on the right anyway, and what does it really mean? We need to have a discussion about that. I think this is a prelude to Abbott and his posse, if you will, wanting to get vouchers passed.
Great.
Anything else on that story?
That's
No.
right.
Okay. I was listening to Pam Bondi last night, Attorney General of the United States, who said, when pressed in an interview about Epstein files or documents or lists, whatever you want to call it, that she expected to be announcing or revealing, releasing, opening up documents today that, in her words, that were pretty sick, are pretty sick. So we're going to see. We haven't gotten to any of those files yet, whether it be Epstein or JFK. Uh, there are some things coming that if we obviously nothing's worse than the abuse that we're seeing now, and that is only going to get worse. But I think in that same little bailiwick of sin in Washington D.C. and with certain people like Epstein and others, we're going to find out some stuff that will blow our minds, particularly with JFK. I mean, Epstein's just going to be a list of pedophilia behavior and sick behavior and
And if it's
debauchery.
coming from the entertainment world, we know
Yeah.
which type of people
Well,
those
we're
are
gonna we're gonna
politically.
entertainment. We're gonna see politicians. We're gonna see notables. We're gonna see all kinds of people. I'm not saying Bill Gates is on it. I haven't seen it. I don't know. But from the wealth component of the United States or of the world. So we're gonna begin to see some of this, and thank
The
goodness.
players.
Yeah, that's right. So once we that is released, we'll have a segment on it. We'll talk about that as well. I also want to mention too that we're working on some ideas for the Sun. One idea is to give a voice. It's not to, I mean, we want to give a voice with all of our platforms. With the print piece of our paper, it's a little bit more difficult, but we do get a lot of comments. We do get a lot of emails and such. We're thinking about, Audrey is working on the concept now, but on page one, every issue is to have a selected comment. Could be positive, could be negative,
Mm.
could be issue related, could be local, could be not, whatever. But something that's intriguing and compelling, and just have what you might call a squawk box. It just says, here's a comment from, we won't put last names, but from Johnny, and Johnny said this.
I
Uh,
need to bring back over here later today or tomorrow this morning's Dallas Morning News. They've got that columnist next to the editorial page where he's taking a question from people
yeah,
and then digging deep in it. And this morning's question was, how come we don't have comments in our papers? And he referred to what they are doing online and how tough that has become because how hard it is to police it and
right.
because it just turns into a bickering match and
Yes.
whatnot. And they got new software that can do that more. I'll bring it for her.
Good. Yeah, I'd like to see it. I know she would too, but to be able to have somebody who said something, again, we wouldn't put stuff up there that's trash or
Right,
whatever, but
right.
something that was well thought out and compelling. Again, it could be anything. I've done it before at other newspapers, and it is interesting to watch people want to pick up the paper so they can see what somebody was squawking about. And again, we don't put last names because we don't want to put anybody in
Sure.
crosshairs, but so working on some ideas like that. More to come on that. All right. Subject one today. It is Drag Queen Church in Dallas. Sammy, if you'll play, we got about a minute and 3 or 4 seconds, something like that. Video we want to show you, but let me set it up. At a church in Dallas, the church is called, let me see here. The Cathedral of Hope in Dallas hosted a worship service titled Celebrating the Art of Drag. Uh, and so I want to show you how this was set up by
Okay, so
members of the church.
it was a particular service. It's not, as this thing said, it's not a drag queen church.
No, it's I was just that's a
Okay.
notation. But no, it's not
Yeah.
a church
Okay.
just of drag
Okay.
queens, but it's a church of, some churches may have a vet for a service for vets or
Sure.
service for the
Sure.
heroes or whatever. This one is a service for drag queens. So Sammy, if you'll play that,
Okay.
check this out.
Let me get it on. Give me 1 second.
Got it?
Yeah.
All right.
Everyone can thrive.
Drag queens are often targets of hate and violence, but we know that they are powerful and resilient people who show us what it means to be truly authentic and expressive. We honor their strength, and we pledge to be allies to the drag community, recognizing the full humanity and their incredible contributions to our world.
We claim our power and take up space, challenging those who would seek to silence or invalidate our existence.
We embrace radical inclusivity and work to dismantle oppression in all areas of our lives.
We invite you to join us in celebration as we offer up our gifts and talents as an expression of love and joy.
We are grateful for the diversity of the human family and the beauty that arises when we come together in unity and love.
Frente a quienes nos dirían que la identidad y la autoexpresión queer está mal, elegimos el amor. Prejudice and intolerance and work to
Okay. Yeah.
Like people chanting in a Jim Jones rally
Yeah.
down in South America
Well,
before they
I-
drink the
I-
Kool-Aid.
I guess in many respects it is a bit of a cult. I mean, people are
But-
dressed. Most of them, most of the ones that we're talking, a couple of them were dressed in robes like a priest might, but the others were in full drag.
But it sounds like a general service for
It is.
that church that they just had this event, and so now your general parishioners are
Yeah.
just kind of, well, this is what I got to read.
Yeah, I mean, this exactly. This says in an act of defiance and in response to the numerous bills introduced in the Texas legislature attacking drag performers and transgender people, Cathedral of Hope will host our second and did host our second Celebrating the Art of Drag Sunday. The associate pastor for youth and young adults of this church, Reverend Brooke Dooley, said, let's see, drag queen. Let's see, she said, she was the guest speaker. Following the service, there was a drag brunch fundraiser, which included entertainment, delicious food, and the unforgettable performances. Drag, this is a quote, drag is like any other performance and visual art form. The audience for drag can be comprised of children and families. The website reads, we want our children to be safe and supported. Drag as in the form of library store hours, theater music, and even church worship services to do just that. And then to make matters worse, one of the drag queens said, if any of y'all voted for Trump, please don't tell us, the drag performer said. Do y'all sacrifice? Could we start sacrificing? The drag artist then asked a crowd member if he voted for Trump. After the person said no, the performer followed up with, okay, listen to this. Okay, because I will kill you. So that's what we're talking about. So just about the time we say, oh, well, free speech and free expression of speech is a bedrock principle for us. Threatening to kill people isn't, and you can get in trouble for that. But I would just say, Cherry says that the sickening is obviously sickening, and it's happening. If I would have said to you 10 years ago, you know what, there comes a day, or Paul Harvey said in the 60s, there's going to come a day in America where drag queens, I don't even know if we knew what drag queens were in the 60s, but there's going to come a day when a church or churches will celebrate men dressed up as women, often in very scantily. I don't even want to think about it; it makes me sick. But dressed up as women and preaching some sort of philosophy, you would have said you're crazy. There's no chance in hell that that's going to happen in America.
You know, I was going to make some comments until the children and the family and the kill part. And what I was going to say is this. You know, yesterday, on my 5 thoughts the other day, I had different strokes for different folks.
True.
And it's true. Okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't really understand the appeal of drag, but I don't know that drag in itself is a harmful thing. And nobody forces anybody to go watch a drag. You don't just stumble upon a drag performance. And I have seen naked women dance quite a few times in my life. And I haven't seen one dance in a long, long time in my life. But nobody ever forced me to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody ever forced anybody to go to see a drag. And it, in its essence, I don't know that it's harmful, but to inflict it on people, to force it on people, and to ever get involved in anything with killing is beyond me. And I don't know if you find my comments to be, I don't know what you find them, but
Well, I
but those
don't.
are my comments.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, they are what they are, and because of my respect, love, and care for you, I accept them. What I would say, I disagree with them, but we disagree on a lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but some things. What I question is, do you believe that it is a mental sign of mental illness if a 25-year-old boy, man like Sammy,
Right.
wants to become a woman? Do you think, just in this layman terms, more anecdotal, because neither one of us are doctors or psychologists or whatever, but do you sense that there is a degree of something's not right mentally there?
There's some confusion,
Okay.
there's for sure.
So when it comes to drag queen behavior, do you or do we believe it's the same kind of deal where men are, again, dressing up? I mean, they're not nude, thank goodness, but
Sure.
they're pretty provocative. Uh, do we believe there's a mental illness issue there? And again, we're not doctored. We can only say what we think.
Weird. I call it weird.
Yeah. So what I would never, and I suspect you probably wouldn't either, although I don't know, if a school in Waxahachie, if we were younger, 30 years younger,
Right.
and Sammy was, you know, 10, or any one of yours were 10, and the school announced that they were going to have a drag queen performance today, what would you do?
No effing way.
Yeah, so and you would say that because you don't want your kid exposed to that. So when we say that there's no harm, the harm is almost, you can't see the harm. And so, and
Right.
parents may be saying, I don't know what the harm would be, but I know there's harm.
There's appropriate places.
Yeah. So it's the element of exposing children to it, and it's the element of being in a church. What these drag queen people want to do, in some ways, they're on TikTok everywhere. And you watch these men; they're sitting in front of a camera and they're putting on their makeup and they're talking you through it and all this, flamboyant stuff. And I'm like, whatever. My wife thinks I'm crazy because it's intriguing, and I'll just watch these people until I can't watch them anymore. And in my mind, I'm saying something's wrong here.
They got
And
you hooked.
yeah, well, I mean, that's why I say there's a bit of that cultist stuff going on.
Yeah.
But for the kids to be exposed to it, we would not dare. If Waxahachie School District ever suggested anything close to it, we would be on this show blasting it.
It'd be the same day that they brought naked women to dance to.
Yeah. So
Right.
so I wanted you all to be aware of it. That's what has been going on. They do it once a year. What would be interesting is, and I don't know if they allow reporters in, but to send one of our reporters up and have them just observe it. Because what you see on video, I'm assuming is a real well, it's obviously a real depiction, but that's
We'll
the
keep our
essence.
news to Ellis County. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
All right.
well, that's true. And God forbid it come to Ellis County. So there you go, drag queen church service. How about that? You probably didn't hear that on any other show today, did you?
I don't
All
think
right.
so.
column time. So I've been writing columns about Doge and about Elon Musk and about Trump and the shock and awe. Hey, Czar Hussar, what's up? We are. Are you? But the columns I've been writing have gotten a lot of play in America, and I've told you I know
Mhm.
privately, but publicly I've gotten emails from Cuba. I got an email from Paris. I got an email from Argentina. I got an email from someone in London, and then of course from all over the United States.
Sure.
And most of them are positive and supportive, and yet there are some that want to take me to task. Isaac says unawareness allows Satan to see the souls of men. Good point. Rita says if we get exposed to it often, then we become immune, then we find it normal. That's what's happening in America. She is spot on.
She is spot on.
And there's a great quote about that that says we see it so much that we then begin to accept it, and then we begin to when those who are opposing, and it's characterized as being evil. So we see evil enough, we experience that evil enough, we begin to believe that evil is normalized or normal. Then when we see people oppose the evil, they're the ones that are not normal.
Right.
And that's what's happening in America. So if you and I went up there with signs and said, no more of this, we'd be the bad guys, right? So my column this week shifted over to another issue that I think is prevalent in America, and that is our judiciary, particularly at the federal level, has run amok. And in many respects, and I don't think we've seen any better proof of that or any more proof of that than in the past 2 years with Trump, having 34, 36, whatever it is, felony things thrown at him by an attorney general or a district attorney who essentially crafted the charges. Now we see the judiciary going after Trump and Elon Musk to stop them from doing their thing. So that's the essence of the column. Your thoughts?
Well, I was stunned when I saw what the column was about, and I applaud you for your ability to bring up topics that people aren't
Yeah,
thinking
that's the
of.
whole idea.
And
Yeah.
a couple quotes out of it, I think, give you the essence of it. The courts designed as impartial arbiters of law are behaving less like restrained jurists and more like ambitious architects, drafting blueprints for social order they were never elected to construct.
Yeah.
Not making it, mind you, nor enforcing it, but in interpreting it within the confines of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And they wield the gavel
I mean,
not to discern the law, what the law says, but to proclaim what they believe it ought to say. And so you're going a place where people, I don't think, are thinking very often about what is happening with the judiciary. And the essence of what you're saying is they were there to determine the right and wrong of law, and now they're interpreting their interpretations are really becoming law. And I was thinking to myself, the whole situation on abortion in today's world came about because of Roe versus Wade, and that was their interpretation. And their interpretation became law. And I didn't write it down. I had another one that was very parallel to that.
marriage. Was it
Yeah,
gay
yes,
marriage?
yeah,
Yeah, that's another perfect. Both those are perfect examples
yeah.
where marriage got, because of, in my opinion, runaway judges.
And it
That
happened one time, and then suddenly it's all games on state by state.
right,
So that's the one thing is if it's happening at the Supreme Court level, sometimes it then becomes a state by state level
right,
type of thing.
which is what's
But what
happened
you're
to.
talking about here isn't just at the Supreme Court level.
Oh no,
It's at every level
yeah,
of the courts.
I meant less about the Supreme Court
Hmm.
and more about the
Okay.
judiciary throughout the
Hmm.
country, because you can have and I don't understand how the system is set up, but how a judge in a community in Florida, federal judge, a community in Florida, can, among hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of federal judges in the country, how it's one of them in Florida can say, I mean, I know somebody
Right.
brought the case there, but it's somebody in down there or in El Paso or wherever a judge saying to Trump and the administration, you can't do what you're saying you're going to do. Not because the law says you can or you can't, but because I, the decider in this, says you can't. And there was one yesterday where I forget the agency where it had to do with funds. It was a Biden appointed judge, not even elected. So you got lifelong appointees who really can do whatever they want ostensibly. I mean, they may get overturned or they may get like this one. The Supreme Court said, "Wait a minute, you can't tell him that he can't do this." So there's those what I call machinations going on. But I don't a judge in theory, a judge in Waxahachie, if you and I brought a case, well, this is district court, but say in Dallas, we brought a case against Trump, and that judge said, "Wait, we're going to stop it." That just seems that's what's happening, and it seems not only inappropriate. Since when did the judiciary become the primary arbiter of what goes on in our country? Judges weren't.
Right. And you think about our division of power within the country with the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the congressional branch. And the reverse trickle down effect is this: if judiciary decisions are leading to law, that means you, as an individual person in this country, if you want your views to be held, even though you're not electing judges, although you do at some very low levels, um, you need to be diligent in your political pursuits, because what's happening in terms of judiciary appointments is coming from elected people. So if you get the people you want elected, they're going to give you judges. They're going to feel the way you feel. So that's a weird trickle down, but
It is.
but it's connect the dots,
It's
man.
exactly right. And that's why when we heard a little bit about this, we should have probably heard more. But when Biden, I don't ever think Biden was making his decisions anyway, but somebody in the White House was making decisions as it got to the very end of Biden's term. There were hundreds of judges that needed to be appointed. And so and it was important to them, as it should be, not as it should be because they're doing it for partisan reasons, but we don't need to have open seats of judges. We need to have good judges everywhere. But in this case, you heard a little bit about how they were acting quickly so that they could get their judges in those seats. Yeah. And so it's a scary thought, really, when you think about the impact that Trump is the president. He was elected by in what people will say, oh, it wasn't a landslide, whatever. Call it what you want to. He won the general election, he won the electoral college, and he won all 7 swing states. That's the definition of mandate, isn't it?
Sure.
And so, and yet the people, I know we did, we voted for Trump. That's who's need to be making the decisions. And for some judge we've never heard of to get in the way, it's inappropriate. So, as it relates to the column, I am working a little overtime to make sure that I'm not writing about the same things that you find every other newspaper columnist or talking head talking about. I don't want to do that. I really don't.
No, I was thrilled when I saw it. I thought,
Yeah, so I'm coming up
okay.
with I'm really, it comes from reading, and then you can come up with different subjects. All right. That's that. Thank you for your thoughts there. Spot on. My random thoughts for today. Let me just quickly go through them. Having gratitude is a secret, one of the secrets to a great life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we have gratitude for things or for people, in difficult times and good times, it makes us better no matter what, particularly if we're having a difficult day or time. If we're just thankful for those we have in our lives, what an amazing boost you can
Right
get.
on, brother.
I think the Rangers are going to have a run. Are you listening, Sammy? At the World Series again this year. Call me crazy.
No, I think I'm liking what's coming out of Sunrise, Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about it. Sammy, what do you think?
I'm excited. I know spring training is going on right now, right?
Yep.
I haven't watched any of it, but
Yeah, so you
usually-
get these split squads and all that stuff.
I usually get more into baseball when the season
Yeah,
progresses.
so
but
April or first week of April, in
Yeah.
about another 5 weeks, they'll be playing.
I'm
telling
excited.
you, with Jacob DeGrom,
Is
is
he
his name Jacob?
yeah,
Yeah,
DeGrom. Is he
DeGrom.
pitching?
He's and then the rest that we got. What's
Evaldi.
Evaldi?
And Scherzer's out, right?
Scherzer's gone. He's in Toronto.
Toronto.
But he needed to be gone.
Yeah.
He's run his course. But I think we've got a stud pitching staff. Our issue, even in the World Series year, in my opinion, was the bullpen. And that bullpen, I hope, has been shaped up. But we're ready to rock and
I
roll.
think Garcia might have a better year again.
Oh, man.
I think Heim might have a better year again.
He needs to.
Langford, our young guys are they got a little bit more.
Langford and
We still have Evan, right?
Josh Young, huh?
Don't we have an Evan? He's young.
Yeah, Evan,
Turn-
number 32, plays left field.
I don't know his last name,
I
but
forget
he's
his last
good.
name.
Evan Carter.
Carter,
yeah.
he's a little,
Yeah.
he's a player. While it looks as though Satan is in control, God is running the show. Everyone will one day realize that. I can make the argument that right now, Satan is the puppeteer for society. But we know how the story ends. We know that God is in control. We're the victim of our own way of life, our own circumstances. We created this. God didn't do anything with it. We as society in general, it looks like the devil's in charge. And for many, he is. But at one point, one of these days, it's going to be clear who's running the show.
And remember where Satan came from.
Yeah.
Fallen
angel. That's right.
archangel.
Chihuahuas are crazy blankety blank dogs.
You know that better than any of us.
We got two of them. I mean, like you guys love Layla. We love Binks and EJ. They are crazy. I mean, they at 1:00 this morning, they were fighting each other on our bed. Good fighting, they weren't trying to rip each other's throat out. Although EJ, were you there last night, Sammy, when EJ went after Binks? No. Oh my goodness. They were both snarling. You'd have thought it was two Rottweilers after each other. But we love these dogs, but they are crazy. They are like the Tasmanian devil. I mean, it's insane. And we're kicking around the idea of maybe a third dog at some point. Last one, treating people well is something they will never forget.
No.
You've heard that quote, people forget what you did for them, but they will never forget how you made them feel. That's not exactly it, but that's the essence of it. All right, those are my 5 random thoughts. Up next, are we ready for this discussion? Where's my agenda? What did I do? There it is. We are going to take
folks, wait till you see this clip, and I want you to listen very closely to some statements that I just think I don't know where they're coming from.
Yeah, so
I don't believe what she says.
Yeah, so let me set this up. We are, as most of you know, there are 435, I believe it is. Could be 535, but there are hundreds of Congress people in the United States Congress that represent districts throughout America. In Texas, our representative is Jake Elsey. I think Jake does a great job. I know Jake. I spent some time with him, and I appreciate what he does. He's a sharp guy. Sammy, or something went down. Can I hear it? Yeah. So, but just one district over, and Jake above. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So next door, in essence, just up the road, is District 30. District 30 is Sammy, we show that map. District 30 does not include Ellis County, obviously, and it doesn't include Waxahachie. So it really doesn't impact us directly, but it's not just in the state of Texas. It's our neighbor being represented by someone who I think is at best weak, at worst is radical.
And if you look at that map and you look at the bottom of the green, which is 31 or 30, 31 below it, and that is going across the DeSoto, Lancaster, Wilmer, Hutchins,
Cedar Hill,
Balch Springs,
right.
Cedar Hill a little bit farther up,
right.
And then it gets you into all parts of Oak Cliff, on the left of 35 over in the very nice Kessler Park area. Over to the right, you've got the Fair Park area, and it takes you all the way up into downtown Dallas,
right.
And all the way over around the Irving Boulevard area off of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes up on the northeast corner, it butts up against Highland Park and University Park, and it goes all the way up to Bachman Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so it's right next to Love Field. Now, you're going to tell me any district is serving the needs of the people around Bachman Lake and Balch Springs and DeSoto. Yeah, this is the most gerrymandered district
Yeah.
I've ever seen.
It's wacky.
And it's
It
the
is.
old Eddie Bernice Johnson
right.
territory.
That's
And
right.
she had it from 93 to 2023. So she had it for 20 years.
Right.
And the demographics of the majority of that district skew heavily African American.
Mm-hmm.
And that has locked that district in as a solid district. And then I don't really know much about Jasmine's background, how she got there. I think she might have been the mayor of DeSoto at one point before
I
then.
have. I don't think I have enough of the
Okay.
bio to tell you yes or no on that.
But I'll tell you one thing, she's got a lock on that seat as long as she wants, and she came into it a lot younger than
Well,
Eddie did.
therein lies the problem.
You
One
know.
of the problems, and that is that these districts tend to. I mean, look at Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters is 85 years old. Nancy Pelosi was 85 or whatever. They're awful, and they just keep being reelected. AOC is an example of a younger person who's being reelected, while her district is a disaster. It's a red light, becoming a red light district, and it's deep poverty. It's a mess, and yet she keeps being voted again and again. Jasmine Crockett. Before I show you the video, no, you know what? I hate it when people do that. They say, I got a video for you, and then they talk forever.
Let's
play the video.
Let's give them the video.
Yeah. So Sammy, play that video.
Give me 1 second.
And I don't know why we're getting all. Or I guess we're just trying to make it so that if she sees this show before you ask her to be on it, she'll never want to be on it. But I don't know.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna approach it a little different.
Okay.
Yeah.
We know, like, this isn't me trying to throw shade. These are just the facts. When you look at who's voting for who, the less educated folk, and when I say educated, I'm not even talking about formal education. I'm talking about people that literally don't want to read and enlighten themselves on facts. Those are the people that typically vote for the Republicans, and it's one of the reasons that we have to stop writing in theses as Democrats, right? Like, we want to give you every single little detail that we can find so that you can have all the information. But the reality is that the average person that is going out there and voting, they're not paying attention to that.
So that's Jasmine Crockett. That's just one of many, many interviews she gives. She's noted for having a verbal tussle, in Congress, with Margie Taylor Greene, who's in Georgia, and it was embarrassing. It was really embarrassing, in my opinion. That's the representative. She runs in the same halls, has the same kind of job as Jake. And there she is. So that gives you an example of kind of where she's coming from. To know a little bit more about her, she has been a member of Congress since January 2023. She just was reelected to her second term. She's in the first month of that second term. So she's been in Congress for 2 years. Now, she's on a lot of different shows, not those shows that we consider conservative, but MSNBC, CNN, these talk shows, podcasts, like, not like ours, but similar. So she's on a lot of different things. And my theory on that is that people don't have her on so that she can enlighten them or enlighten the viewer. They have her on because she's a form of entertainment. You just heard the provocation there. That is that the conservatives, in her opinion, are essentially, tell me if you get a different interpretation or different understanding, are ignorant. She didn't say they're not intelligent or that they're unintelligent, because it's not because they didn't go to school. It's because they don't read, they don't think about things, they don't know what's going on. That, in my opinion, she's calling conservatives ignorant.
I thought the focus was stronger on uninformed rather than ignorant.
Well, she says the reason I use ignorant, she said, because they don't read. I don't know if she's saying they don't know how to read or they just don't care. Not reading would be a form of being uninformed. So I don't know quite what she's saying, but she is declaring that half of America, if not more, well, obviously more than half, because Donald Trump just won, more than half of America are clueless, is what she's saying.
Right. And I don't think we have a literacy problem with Republicans. And I believe that Republicans most likely, in my opinion, my humble opinion, read far more books, far more magazines, far more newspapers than
Yeah,
which
I mean, I don't know that I'm the typical conservative because of what I do, but I read a ton, and I know you read a ton. I know our wives read a ton. I just think it's a blanket statement that is absurd at face value. She also says this. Jasmine Crockett took aim at the voters of President Trump, suggesting they refuse to educate themselves on the facts and that racists will support other racists. This isn't me trying to throw shade. This is what she just said. These are the facts. When you look at who's voting for who, the less educated folk. And when I say educated, I'm not even talking about formal education. I'm talking about people that literally don't want to read and enlighten themselves on facts. Those are people that typically vote for the Republicans. Like we want to give, and she's talking about the Democrats. Imagine this. She's saying this about describing Democrats. We want to give you every single little detail that we can find out so that you can have all the information. But the reality is that the average person that is going on out there and voting, they're not paying attention to that. She goes on to further say, which you didn't hear in the interview, people go out and vote in their own self-interest, right? And so you have, and so you had all these racists that show up and decided that they were going to vote for the other racists because they thought, hey, we're all the same. But the reality is that he is a rich racist, okay? So when he decided that he was going to look out for somebody, it was only going to be other rich white guys, not the rest of y'all. She says, so as you're losing your job, as you're losing your Medicaid, as you're losing your family, you're feeling a way because you're like, wait a minute, you were supposed to go after the others, not come after us. And now they're saying, oh, well, we'll give you $5,000 check. I don't see that happening right now, she said. Let me read just a couple other quotes because it's amazing to me that right here, within the sound of our voice, and I don't know if she'll ever get this, but within the sound of our voice, a representative who somehow,
who borders our district.
yeah, is connected to us in that alone, not to mention the mindset. She said on Friday of last week, this is a United States Congresswoman last Friday, said that she is rooting for Mexico and Canada amid their feud with the United States under Donald Trump. Canada has really been the one to call it out. The fact that I am rooting for Canada and that I'm rooting for Mexico a lot is really wild. But they are really the ones speaking truth to power right now. They can see what it is, and they were like, "We are not messing with this crazy regime from Mar-a-Lago," and basically calling them thugs. That's a United. She could be from Timbuktu, and that would be bad. But to know that she's right next door, and a United States Congressperson saying they are rooting for other countries instead of the country that she represents is almost as unbelievable as drag queens in church, if you ask me. Here are a few facts about Jasmine Crockett. I mentioned to you that she's been in Congress for one term, that she's at the beginning of her second term. She is born in 81, so that would make her 25, 19. She's 44, 45, somewhere in that neighborhood. She was born in St. Louis, Missouri. She's been a Democrat. Her education at Rhodes College, a BA, University of Houston. She got her law degree. Let's see if there's anything else I want to tell you. She attended the University of Law, Houston. Completed law school and passed the bar examination shortly after. In 2006, she became a public defender for Bowie County and later formed a firm which handled car accident lawsuits and took pro bono cases for Black Lives Matter activists. So there's what we have just next door. And you might say, well, Scott, why is my
I was
grandma?
going to ask that.
Well, my grandma would say, why is your butt up on the dashboard? And here's why. One, it's an awful example for the state of Texas. It's an awful example for our part of the state of Texas. It's an awful example of what a congressperson is meant to be and do in Washington. And so I say this, there's a whole bunch of things being floated out there about Jasmine Crockett, like how much money she's got, how she got it, blah, blah, blah. I don't know that that's true, so I don't think it's true, but I'm not going to if I don't know it's true, I'm not going to tell you about it, or rail on it. But I'm doing this because these people must be stopped. And if there are those like her on the right, then as I've said before, my biggest issue in Ellis County when it comes to politics is not with the Democrats, it's with the leadership of the GOP. So I'm willing to talk with anybody. In this case, I'd love to have Jasmine Crockett in here if she would come and talk to us, so I can just ask what compels you to be this way, what compels you to not miss the fact that getting into a verbal match, if you will, in Congress on TV as though you're in the third grade. What do you see as being the benefit for that? What do you see as being benefit of calling half of America, in my opinion, dumb, not informed, racist? She's talking about us as being racist. What compels that? And why do we vote for people like that? So I'd love to have her come on. So if any of you are watching that can get this message to her, I'll have maybe more to say in the column in hopes that it gets to her. But I'd love to have her in here. Better yet, I'd love to, I don't know about debate her. I mean, I'm happy to debate her, but I'd love to have a community forum in which we sit down and we talk about the very things I just said. Why can't we come to some degree of clarity and the truth as opposed to this nonsense she's spewing?
Why don't you have her on with Jake?
I'd love to do that. Yeah. We could have Jake I think that would be a really good setting for a public, discussion, so that we can have two representatives from our area
Sure.
tell us what they think's going on. So, there you go. That's my thoughts on Jasmine Crockett. Anything else on her?
That should be sufficient.
All right. It's Ryan time. Let's hear it. What you got today?
Okay. Well, because of what we're talking about with Jasmine, seems like I'm drifting more and more back to my my dark early days of the 2020 pandemic, where I cut my teeth because there were so many social things to talk about,
Yeah.
and it gave me my voice to say, let's talk about things.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's called "My Verse Has Gone Dark." My good pal Joe said my verse has gone dark. Folks know I'm not prone to bark, but today's world has gone awfully stark. Factions abound, and each hits its mark. Everybody acts like there's some kind of narc. I guess life's no longer a walk in the park. It's all about you. Excuse me. It's all about me. Forget about you. If you ask me, I think it all smells like food. Me, nothing else will do. Is this really the best we can do? If we continue to act like this, here comes the abyss. Let's get back to caring, not more racial daring.
Mm-hmm.
We're heading for trouble. It's here on the double. Just take a big breath. We need no more death.
Very good. Yeah, that was, I mean, we just talked about, that was when, in 2020?
Yeah.
Yep. So we're talking 5 years later.
July.
Okay, almost 5 years later, we're talking about things that you're sort of prognosticating.
That's all coming post George Floyd.
Yeah. And I mean, really, I don't know if you've heard that Paul Harvey radio segment, the rest of the story, where he says, if I were the devil, have you heard it?
No.
I'll find it for you, because I think it was in mid-60s. He said, if I were the devil, I would do the things that we're seeing happening today. It's incredible. It's incredible. It's almost to a T, the things we see. Not all of it, but what he mentions, if I were the devil, I'd do this, 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 and this. We're seeing it being done today. Pretty amazing. All right, it's that time for me to show off. So bring it on. How many questions do we have today, and how'd you do?
You can chase me because I went 10-0.
Something's going on in that household I need to know about. I think we need Doge in there. Rita, was he Googling? She loves you, so she'll protect
Is she
you.
still watching?
I don't know, but if she
know.
is, she'll protect you. This
Well,
is Sonia. Sonia would probably give me up. She'd say, yeah, he's Googling.
no, my wife would give me up in a heartbeat. Come on. All righty. Well, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 And I did get a number of doubles, and I got one right off the gate here on both the year and as you know, we can get a bonus for a particular fact, and here's how we go. Germany's parliament building, the blank,
I don't know. Why would I know that?
the Reichstag.
You knew that?
I knew that.
I didn't.
Germany's capital parliament building, the Reichstag, was gutted by fire. Chancellor Adolf Hitler, blaming communists,
Oh no.
used the fire to justify suspending civil liberties.
Your wife's coming to your rescue.
Thank you, gorgeous,
Rita.
loving, devoted bride.
Oh my gosh. All right, 1933.
1929.
33 is correct, and I had that.
Booyah.
So if you knew about 33, how did you not know about the Reichstag?
Because I've never heard of that.
Here we go.
And that's probably not how you say it, but anyway.
Reichstag.
All right, well, I get 2 for that.
All right.
All right, yeah, there you go.
There you go.
You know what you just sounded like?
Adolf
Hogan's
Hitler.
Heroes. No, you sound
Oh,
like that dude on
oh, yeah.
Hogan's Heroes. The guy that wore that funky hat, helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the one thing he used to say? Yeah, he had some classics here. Yeah. The 22nd Amendment to the Constitution limiting a president to 2 terms in office was ratified.
1951.
1960.
Sam the man.
Did I get
You
it on
got
the
it?
on the
Yeah,
dot?
Yeah. Did you have any idea
I
why?
had no idea.
Even a
Okay.
I love
blind
when that
squirrel.
happens.
Why did they pass that amendment?
Well, I assume because they knew we needed it.
Why do we need it?
Oh, because we don't want, we cannot have a situation, even for those, matter of fact, I wrote a column about it.
I need a fact.
Trump, because we cannot, fact is, we cannot have a dictator in this country.
Who do we have that was elected 4 times?
Was it,
Uh-huh.
who was it? Was it one of the Roosevelts?
Second one.
Yeah, FDR.
FDR,
Yeah.
32, 36, 40,
Yeah.
44. And then he died and Truman took over and Truman won in 48. And then, but they said, actually, my guess on that was, I guess 47. I thought, man, as soon as he died, they made that rule. They didn't make it till 51.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
it's a good rule.
well, it is a great rule. I think it needs, as my column said, it needs to be throughout all of
Yeah.
elected office. I do have a problem, not that this has to do with this, has to do with term limits, is 2-year terms. I think that's silly because it keeps people in campaign mode nonstop.
Yeah.
We're already talking about, for a 4-year term, we're talking about 2028 right now.
You know what Jasmine's doing?
She's running for office.
She's
That's why she's
politicking.
on all these shows.
That's why she's politicking right now.
Yeah.
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 Here we go. Members of the American Indian movement occupied the hamlet of Wounded Knee in South Dakota, the site of the 1890 massacre of Sioux men, women, and children. The occupation would last for over 2 months. The
19
occupation at Wounded Knee.
1974.
72.
73.
Oh,
Dang.
Hot.
man.
Come on.
Wait a minute. I was off 1 year. You didn't say I was hot.
Because you
Because we
usually
expect
do
that.
this.
We expect that.
Oh,
out
we
of
do.
you.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
expect that. All right, here we go. Now remember we had something similar to this. I pointed it out the last time. This is the 3rd time this has been talked about in 3 or 4 weeks. All right, maybe 3 in a row.
So you're really going to make us feel.
Operation Desert Storm came to a conclusion as President George H.W. Bush declared in a White House address that Kuwait has been liberated, Iraq's army is defeated, and announced that the Allies would suspend combat operations at midnight Eastern Time.
George
H.W.
H.W.
80,
Bush.
H.W.
96, 79. 1979.
2000
Oh my
and,
gosh.
wait a minute. H.W. No, 1994.
91. Clinton came in
Oh.
92. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I was
yeah,
trying to remember. I'll take
Okay,
it. I'll
okay.
take
With
it.
the approval.
Terry said 1973 on the previous one. Was he right?
That was on the dot, I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Good
Wounded
job,
Knee.
Terry.
Wounded Knee.
Good Googling.
It came in kind of late.
You trying to get that phone to work
With
faster.
the approval of Queen Elizabeth II, that would be I, thank you very much. Britain's House of Lords agreed to end 1,000 years of male preference by giving a monarch's firstborn child the right to take the throne, regardless of the child's sex.
Terry got that
2002.
one right too. 2009.
98.
Ah, I
Dang,
got it.
that hurt.
I got it.
All right, how many more we got left?
One more, and don't not get me a bonus. Both of you. Don't not get me a bonus.
Don't. That's
That's a double
double
negative.
negative.
I know. I did it on purpose for emphasis. Don't not get me a bonus.
Terry said no Google.
No Google.
I'm just busting you.
All right. Let's get it all right here. Here we go. Russian President Vladimir Putin dramatically escalated East-West tensions by ordering nuclear forces put on high alert, while Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky agreed to talks with Moscow as Putin's troops and tanks drove deeper into the country.
2022.
Either that or 2021. 2021.
Sam the
Yes.
man.
That was me
Yes.
sacrificing for my son.
He didn't take a dive.
Yes,
Don't
I
tell-
did. I
he
gave
didn't-
him. I didn't
No,
want to.
he went first, and then that didn't mean
I
you
didn't
couldn't
want
follow.
to. Well, I know. I didn't want to show him up.
You know that those guys both have the same first name spelled differently.
It is.
Vladimir, Vladimir Putin, and Vladimir, Vlodymyr.
Whoa.
I was going to ask you that. If you say what is Zelensky's first name, people say Vladimir. If you ask what is Putin's first name, Vladimir. I think Zelensky is Volodymyr.
Vladimir.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's spelled different.
And,
And, you know,
you know when you say Vladimir for him, it's a lazy.
yeah, it is.
And I said it wrong until I spelled it out. And
Yeah,
yeah.
that's an interesting point. You know, he's coming to
Tomorrow.
see Trump tomorrow, and they're going to talk about that minerals deal. Trump wants $500 billion.
50%.
He wants 50% of that.
He wants 50% of profits.
Okay, so he's characterized as being a $500 billion deal. Then I heard $350 billion as compensation for all of what we've given Zelensky and Ukraine since the war started. You know, we have you. I know,
But
you've
you know
seen
what?
it.
When we gave it, it was no strings attached.
It was.
Well,
No, you're right.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
agreeing
so
with you.
I'm not sure
We
I
went
like
down, Sam.
coming back and asking for it after.
That's what Zelensky has said, that it was a grant.
Yeah, that's how aid works.
Yeah.
Called aid, not loan.
It's going to be an interesting meeting to see what
Yeah.
happens there. All right. Very good. Is there anything else we need to talk about as we close out?
No, sir, we got a nice meme here.
Yeah, I got a meme. I want to say thank you for being here. And as always, we'll be back on Tuesday, bright and chippy and ready to go with a whole new discussion. And thank you all for being with us and for sharing your thoughts. I want to close before the close with this. When you want to help people, you tell them the truth. When you want to help yourself, you tell them what they want to hear. Thomas Sowell, the great economist, said that.
Wow.
Yep. True, huh?
True that.
All right. Thank you all.
Remember, don't write a check you can't cash.